Now let me explain how this movement of air cells is going to generate action potential. Now I want you to concentrate because this is little bit depth. I am going to the next level. So I have taken this alone, this rod of corti, outer air cell, inner air cell, tectorial membrane, see here. So I have just done outer air cell, one outer air cell for understanding sake. 3:1 is the ratio, you remember. Now you can see our outer air cell is resting on the basilar membrane. This is rod of corti resting on the basilar membrane, inner air cell resting on the basilar membrane. And I already told the air cells end at reticular lamina, you can see here. The black color is reticular lamina, the air cells ends. Above the reticular lamina only cilia starts, same thing here. So this is cilia, stereocilia. Stereocilia. This is also stereocilia. The size of the cilia increases as it goes. Same thing for the inner air cell. And this top one usually we call it as kinocilia. So the kinocilia is the longest cilia, both outer air cell as well as inner air cell. Now coming to the mechanism, what will be above? You can pause the video and answer. So what is this region? So this is scala tympani. This is scala media. And here will be another membrane which will be Reissner's membrane, and this will be scala vestibula. So I am just showing the organ of corti diagram alone. So for understanding scala vestibulae, this entire thing is scala media, this is scala tympani, basilar membrane, Reissner's membrane, leave it. Tectorial membrane is, or otherwise the air cells are ending at the tectorial membrane, that I want you to note it down, important. Now let us come to the mechanism of how this auditory nerve is going to be stimulated. Now what happens when I am producing a sound? It comes through the oval window, through the scala vestibula, and it strikes the basilar membrane, the first step. So what happens whenever I produce sound? You can even pause the video and answer. When I am producing sound, what will happen to the basilar membrane? It will be moving upwards, or the vibrations are produced in the basilar membrane because of the movement of the fluid. What fluid is that? Perilimb. Because of movement of the fluid, there is a vibration, or the basilar membrane moves upwards. We can make it like that. As the basilar movement moves upwards, so I will mark it as point 1. Sound produced. First step, the sound strikes the oval window, all those things. Fluid moves. As the fluid moves, basilar membrane moves. So as the basilar membrane moves, HC air cells, both outer air cell as well as inner air cells moves. As the outer air cells moves, cilia also moves, or the cilia moves and bends. That's what I want. This is very important. So as I produce the sound hits the oval window, the amplification of sound, pneumatic amplification, the 22 times impedance matching takes place, and it is moving via the scala vestibula and enters via the scala tympani and the basilar membrane. The main point here is the basilar membrane has to vibrate or move. And we all know that air cells rests on the basilar membrane. As the basilar membrane moves, the air cells moves, which obviously moves the reticular lamina also. Now imagine what happens to the stereocilia. It is going to strike the tectorial membrane, and what happens? As it strikes the tectorial membrane, there will be movement like this, bend. So the bend of shorter cilia towards the, like this. So these 4 are cilia. As I make, now imagine all these 4 are cilia, and this is air cell. Just concentrate please. This blue one is kinocilia. This is stereocilia, and this is outer air cell. Below the outer air cell is basilar membrane. When sound is being produced and it strikes the oval window, the fluid moves and it comes and strikes the basilar membrane. As the basilar membrane moves, the cilia is bending because of the basilar membrane. Again, when the sound I am producing, it moves the basilar membrane. Because of the movement of basilar membrane, the cilia is moving, the bend of shorter cilia towards the kinocilia. Because of this, what happens? Here I am changing this to inner air cell, so that I will make it easy, because what I mentioned, inner air cell is very important. Anyway, the stereocilia all are same, so let this be inner air cell. Let this be outer air cell. Otherwise same thing, that stipplings, the protein channels which is present in the inner air cell, we usually call it as stipplings. Same mechanism, basilar membrane moves up, inner air cell moves up, stereocilia bends, outer air cell moves up, stereocilia bends, and when inner air cell moves up, what happens? This bend causes the channels to open. Maybe next point I can write. This I am mentioning about inner air cell now. Yeah, inner air cell. All 5 points, inner air cell, then tipplings open, potassium enters, very important, potassium, 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 potassium. Why potassium enters? Because scala media is rich in potassium. So from the scala media, the endolimb which has more potassium enters into the inner air cell through the cilia. Why the potassium enters? These channels are open. Why these channels open? Because of the bending of the cilia or shortening of the cilia or movement of the cilia. Why there is a movement of cilia? Air cells are moving. Why air cells are moving? Basilar membrane is moving. Why basilar membrane is moving? Fluid is coming and touching the basilar membrane. Why fluid is coming and touching? The sound is moving the fluid. Very simple. So, I make sound, the basilar membrane moves up and this entire movement occurs. Worth mentioning, and because of this potassium depolarization takes place in the inner air cell. Obviously potassium is positive, even some calcium also enters. Now what happens? Because of this depolarization, a excitatory neurotransmitter is released in the form of glutamate. And now this causes action potential. So how action potential is generated by the inner air cell? I have explained. Potassium enters, increase in positive ion. As the potassium enters inside, depolarization. Because of depolarization, action potential is produced, and the glutamate is the excitatory neurotransmitter responsible for the action potential. And because of this action potential, the afferents. So this is spiral ganglia, which I already explained. I am telling in detail now. This is peripheral process of spiral ganglia. This is central process of spiral ganglia. So I have explained about the inner air cell. Now coming to the outer air cell. Already I told, inner air cell is responsible for the perception of sound, discrimination of sound, whereas outer air cell are responsible for modification of sound, reduce high amplitude sound, or to specifically concentrate on specific whatever sound I want to hear, to concentrate on that frequency and marks the other frequency. Those functions are done by outer air cell. So what happens here in outer air cell is, imagine, wow, like that, when too much sound is produced, these outer air cells are also getting stimulated. The same mechanism, protein is different. Here the protein that is present is called, you can note it down, there that is stipplings, here it is called as pristine. So pristine is the protein present in outer air cell, tipplings is the protein present in inner air cell. When more sound enters, what this outer air cell does is, it causes contracture of this protein. The pristine contracts and it retracts, or otherwise the reverse occurs. So we do not complicate much. When too much sound occurs, this outer air cells comes to the play. Inner air cells is sending the afferent to the peripheral process of spiral ganglia, and later on auditory pathway, which will be the mechanism bearing part 3. I am going to explain about auditory pathway. I am not going to discuss that now. Outer air cell efferent is coming from the olivocochlear bundle. First I will touch upon this, basilar membrane. I will draw this basilar membrane here for understanding. Imagine this is basilar membrane, this is round window this side, and that side is helicotrema. Helicotrema is where scala vestibula and scala tympana join together. So this is base of basilar membrane, this is apex of basilar membrane. What point I want to add is, each part of the basilar membrane is specialized in identifying a specific frequency. For example, when high frequency sound enters, base of the basilar membrane vibrates. When low frequency sound enters, apex of the basilar membrane vibrates. Normal frequency is 20 to 20,000 hertz. Now I am speaking to you. This sound is usually 1500 to 4000 hertz, which is normal. If it is going to be high frequency, base of the basilar membrane vibrates more. Basilar membrane vibrates as I explained, but base is going to vibrate more. So different parts of the basilar membrane respond to different pitches or different frequencies of sounds. That point also I want to add. In quick summary, I discussed about the cochlea, semicervical canals, utricle cycle, all part of the membranous labyrinth, and the entire membranous labyrinth is covered by bony labyrinth. Bony labyrinth is located in petrous part of temporal bone. Then I wanted to concentrate only on cochlea, and thus cochlea is having three scala: scala vestibula, scala media, scala tympani. Racemous membrane separates vestibula from media. Basilar membrane separates tympani from media. Simple. So two membranes, three scala. Simple. And above the basilar membrane is rods of corti, outer air cell, inner air cell. The end of the air cells is reticular lamina. The end of the cilia is tectorial membrane. Scala media is rich in endolimb. Endolimb is rich in potassium. This is a very important thing of today's discussion and very difficult also. Hope I tried to explain. You can even try to revisit the video and try to watch. Yeah, this is very simple. 7 points. Sound is produced. I am speaking. The sound is entering into the external ear, middle ear. Amplification takes place 22 times. Strikes the oval window. The fluid moves, and because of the fluid moves, basement membrane is moved, and as the basement membrane moves, inner air cells is also moved. As the inner air cells moved, I showed the demo. The stereocilia bends. As there is a bend of the cilia, the tip links, the proteins opens. As that protein opens, potassium enters because scala media. Above is scala media. Scala media is rich in potassium. Potassium is positive ion. As the potassium ion, depolarization takes place and this action potential is generated. So now you know why action potential is generated. Bend of the air cell. As the action potential is generated, it passes via the peripheral process of spiral ganglion. The other side of the spiral ganglion is central process. This is related to inner air cell. Outer air cell, this is afferent coming from the inner air cell. Outer air cell, it is mainly modification of the sound. When over sound comes, how to modify it. Outer air cell causes hyperpolarization, and OCB is nothing but olivocochlear bundle. From the olivocochlear bundle, the efference comes to the outer air cells. So that is separate entity. In upcoming video, I will continue from this central process of spiral ganglion. So you know up to central process of spinal ganglion. Next video will be little bit easy. Just I am going to tell about the auditory pathway. What happens from the central process with the mnemonic, how it goes and enters the auditory cortex. So hope this video was useful to you. We will meet in next class, mechanism of hearing part 3, auditory pathway. Thank you. In next video we will meet again. Please share this video to our students community as exam is also nearing. This is actually expected essay. Okay, we will meet in next video. Thank you. Have a nice day.